Alright, hey guys, this is video 3 of the How to HTML web tutorial series, and in this video we're going to be learning how to make our web pages look pretty. Last time we were able to put some content on a web page, as you see here, and actually have a display in Google Chrome, as you see, and really it looks bad though. I think you all would agree this looks really plain, it looks really bad, it looks like it's straight out of like 1999. So what we need to do is actually style this up and make it look better, make it look like a more modern web page. And the way you do that is with something called CSS. And what CSS is a type of file that is used by HTML to specify to the browser what the content is going to look like. And I know that sounds kind of complicated, but it's really not once you get the hang of it. Once again, it's really straightforward. HTML and CSS, it's really straightforward and easy to get the hang of. So where do we start? Well, we want to make this page look better. Let's say we want to have a, this web page is going to look pretty horrible, but I just want to give you an example of the types of things you can do. Let's say we want this content here to be surrounded by a, let's say a blue background. So to do that, we're going to need a container. We're going to have to put all of this content inside its own container, and there's a special tag for that that I haven't talked about yet called a div. So if we put a div here, and let's call it class equals container. This is kind of a common practice among web pages. Sometimes we'll have it called an ID container, but in this case I'm just going to say class. Class is a more common thing. So we have this div called container. It's surrounding all of our content now. Notice how it's closed at the bottom here. We start up there, close at the bottom. So everything inside it is enclosed in this div. So think of a div like a box. I'm just going to tab out there so we keep things nice and tidy. So think of a div like a box. And do we want that box to be a certain color? Yes, we do. So to do that, we need a style sheet. So how do we make a style sheet? You need to go in the head. Remember, that's where I said that any additional information is stored in the head that doesn't get displayed but is needed, like resources. Well, we need to actually declare a resource. And how we do that, there's a tag called link, and we're going to have to put a link here. Link rel equals style sheet, and that's telling the web browser that we have a style sheet. And the type equals text/CSS. It's a CSS style sheet. So I mean, this is pretty straightforward, I guess. And then href. This is our reference point. So let me go ahead and extend that. Okay, so this is a little bit confusing maybe at first, but think of our project directory as where we start out. So here we are at our basically our root of our project directory, and we have our 3 folders that we made in the first video: CSS, images, and JS. And we want to store our style sheet in the CSS folder, just for the sake of keeping things neat. So what we need to do actually is go in here and go into our folder, and see, I've already got a style sheet declared, so let me delete that and start over. So we want to go into our CSS folder, go to new text document, kind of like we did to create the HTML, and name this style.css. SAS. So now we've got our CSS file. And go ahead, you can open this in Notepad++, so it'll come in here as a new tab. So how do we link this file to here? We need to tell the web browser where it's located, and that is relative to where the HTML file is. There's a difference between relative and absolute links. In this case, we're using a relative link. Maybe we'll get into that more later, but just know for now we need to specify the folder of where the CSS is located, which is the CSS folder, and the name, which is style.css. And then we can close it off. We don't need a closing tag. So and then we save that. I'm just going to Control S. So this is saved, and I know this is a lot to take in, but we're just going to push forward. So we named our class div. We have our div here that all our content is in, and so we want to make this background blue. Remember that. So right now it's not blue. It's just basically just plain white. So how we do that, we need to specify in our style.css how the container looks. So how we do that, we have a class called container. We need a bracket, and we need a closed bracket. So this is basically, we have our element called container, that's up here, and then our style information goes inside the brackets. And what this is it's actually a CSS selector, but you can learn more about those later. So we have that, and we want to say background color colon blue, and that's going to make the background blue. Simple as that. So if I go ahead and save that, go up to here, if I hit refresh, now it's blue. So obviously there's a lot of different style things you can change. You can change text align. That's going to make everything appear in the center. So now everything's centered. That sometimes comes in handy. We can do font family. And again, there's all kinds of references for where to get these tags and selectors from, but I'm just kind of trying to run over some of the basics with you. We can make it the font Arial. So again, this is a horrendous color choice. So I'm going to go ahead and change this color a little bit. Maybe lighten it. This will be a lighter red. Pretty dark red, actually. This should be a pretty dark red. Yeah. And we can actually change the text color itself. I can make that white. So now we're kind of transitioning into the MySpace era. So yeah, here is our content. I mean, you can control all sorts of things. So this is kind of I just kind of want to get you in the mindset of how things work. In order to get familiar with this, you're going to need a lot of experimenting on your own, a lot of just trial and error, because obviously I could sit here all day telling you about the different things, but I just want you to know how certain things work, and hopefully you can get a better idea from that. And as you can see, we're getting there. It's coming along. We're making some progress. Another thing you can do with containers, you can specify the size, and that's kind of a big deal. Otherwise, you just have elements floating all over the place, and you'd have no control pretty much with the size. And there's a couple other things that'll can help you with your control. So if you do width, let's say I want this to be 200 pixels and height to be 200 pixels. So I want a 200 by 200 square and overflow hidden. So it's going to cut off anything past 200 pixels. So yeah, so as you can see, the image gets cut off, but you're starting to see how you can control some things with CSS, and it's really powerful. You can do really awesome things with CSS, and there's CSS 3 now, which you can do stuff with the even with the graphics card and just all kinds of crazy stuff. So it's kind of exciting once you start to realize what you can do with this. So I mean, and you can just go up from there and build more advanced things than this, obviously. So I hope that should get you started a little bit. So next time we might discuss layouts a little bit more styling, and how to make kind of just a coherent web page instead of just like random blobs like this. So that'll be next video. Thanks for watching, everyone, and just stay tuned for part 4. All right.